£100 a month in dividends, not averaged out over a year, actually landing in January, and again in February, and in every month after that. Start the sum, and the first step is easy. £100 a month is £1,200 a year. The second step is where nearly everyone goes wrong, and what trips them up has nothing to do with the yield they pick. Here's the bit nobody prices. Most British companies don't pay you monthly. They pay twice a year, a few pay 4 times. So, covering all 12 months takes several of them on different schedules. 5 big UK names do it between them: GSK, Shell, Aviva, Tesco and United Utilities. How I came to those names? That's in another video. I'll link it below for when you're done here. This is the other half. How much would you need invested in those 5 to pull £100 out of every single month? Quick note, none of this is financial advice, so please do your own research. Right. The sum. Take the income you want each month and turn it into a year. Divide that by the yield you expect to earn. What comes back is the capital. And the easiest way to carry it around is as a multiple rather than a pound figure. Pick 5% and you need 20 times the income you want. Pick 4 and it's 25 times. So, at 5%, £1,200 a year needs £24,000 invested. Hold that number. It's the one almost every article hands you, and it's a flaw because it quietly assumes something about these companies that simply isn't true. It assumes your £1,200 turns up in 12 equal pieces. It doesn't. This is the calendar those 5 names build between them. Every month covered, but look at who's carrying each one. February and August come from one company and one company only. November, the same. May, the same. Which means every one of those months has to stand on its own. If your November payment comes to half of what you wanted, November is a half payment month. The fact that June paid you double doesn't help. June was already full. So forget sizing this on the year. Every single holding gets sized on its smallest month. And that is a completely different sum. Start with the 2 easy ones because on this sum they're the same shape. GSK and Shell both pay 4 times a year, and their 4 payments are roughly equal. That makes them the cheap kind of month to fill. No small payment drags the size up, every quarter costs about the same, and one holding covers 4 months. GSK hasn't cut its dividend in over a decade. There's one step down in the record that looks like a cut. That was the year GSK split its consumer health business off into a separate company, so the dividend split along with it. A reshuffle, not a business in trouble. Shell is the one with a scar. In 2020, it cut for the first time since the Second World War. It has raised the payment every year since, but per share it still hasn't got back to where it started. Remember that one? It comes back. Now the insurer. Aviva pays twice a year and the 2 payments aren't the same size. The May one is a lot bigger. And that lands in exactly the right place because May is the month Aviva is carrying on its own. It pays again in October, but GSK already has October covered. So you're sizing Aviva on the bigger of its 2 payments, which makes May one of the cheaper months on the board. Its record reads a lot like Shell's, with one difference that matters. Aviva cut in 2020 as well. A lot of the market did that year, and it has grown the payment every year since. The difference is that Aviva has got back to where it was. Those are share counts on the board, by the way. What they cost comes at the end. Quick one before the harder half. If you like UK dividend investing worked out in plain English, with the arithmetic shown, subscribing genuinely helps this channel more than you'd think. Tesco is where this gets expensive, and it's the clearest version of the whole problem. Tesco also pays twice, a bigger one in June, a smaller one in November. But June is already covered. Shell has it. So the month Tesco is carrying alone is November, the small one, which means you have to hold enough Tesco that the smaller of its 2 payments reaches £100. And then June comes round, and that same holding hands you far more than £100 in a month that was already full. You still get that money, it just doesn't buy you a month. And months are what we're buying. Tesco's own record, for what it's worth, is one of the cleanest here. It kept paying through the accounting scandal, through the pandemic, through the cost of living squeeze, and lately it's been growing again. That leaves February and August, and they're the reason most people give up on this. Almost nothing big in the UK pays in either of them. The one that does is a water company, United Utilities. It pays in both, the only name here carrying 2 months on its own, so it gets sized on the smaller of the two, exactly the way Tesco did. What you get in return is the most boring record on the board, and I mean that as a compliment. No cut in 2020, no cut at all that I can find in the last decade. Just steady rises year after year, roughly keeping pace with inflation. Every month covered then, and a number against every name, which is the moment to ask whether all 5 have earned their place. Line the records up, and 4 of them tell the same story. They either never cut, or they cut and got the payment back to where it had been. One didn't. Shell cut in 2020, and 6 years of raises later, its payment per share is still short of where it was. For an oil company, that's not a surprise. But for an income you plan to hold for 20 years, it's the one record still catching up. And there's another FTSE 100 name on the same quarterly cycle. For years that meant March, June, September and December, Unilever. Through 2020, when much of the market cut, it held the payment flat. Then raised it. Here's the catch: pay dates move. Unilever's first payment of the year has shifted into April, so right now it doesn't cover March at all. And before that sounds like a reason to rule it out, one of the 5 on the board has done the same thing. United Utilities paid a winter dividend in January one year, not February. It's back in February now. A better record, or a month, you'd have to fill somewhere else. I'd rather show you both than choose for you. One last thing has to go in before any of this means money: the share prices. A share count only turns into a pound figure at the price on the day. And these are the prices on the day I built this, so they'll have moved by the time you're watching. Where each of these has gone this year is on screen. That's context, not the answer. So, watch the board turn into pounds. This is what each of the 5 costs to make the months it's carrying actually land. And then the total. One number on screen. And here's the whole thing. That's what £100 in every single month of the year genuinely takes. It's well above £24,000. Some of that is because 5% was a generous yield to assume. The rest of it is the calendar. 2 honest things. First, £100 a month isn't more money than £1,200 a year. Same income arriving more often, and neatness costs more capital before any tax. Second, the bigger one. 2 of these 5 cut in 2020. Both came back, but a calendar you build today is a plan, not a promise. That's for £100 a month. If your number is bigger, so is everything on that board. So work yours out the same way. What you want a month times 12 divided by a yield you'd honestly hold for 20 years. Then find the months only one company covers. Those set the size. Tell me where yours landed. I'd like to know what people are aiming at. Everyone argues about the yield. Almost nobody works out what the calendar costs. And now you have. Happy investing.